And in the quiet hours, when the world fades into a soft hum, and the stars seem to whisper secrets to the wind, I find myself wandering through the corridors of my own mind, searching for the echoes of who I used to be, and the fragments of who I am becoming. I walk without direction, yet every step feels necessary, as if the ground itself is guiding me towards something unseen, something ancient that has always lived beneath the noise and the chaos of living. There was a time when I believed that life was a straight path from one point to another, a clean line from hope to fulfillment, but somewhere along the way, I learned that the journey bends and twists and folds upon itself, that we fall not because we are weak, but because gravity reminds us we are real. We stumble because the earth demands to be felt. We lose because the soul must make space for something new to arrive. In those quiet moments when everything seems lost, I hear a voice inside me, not loud, not clear, but steady like the pulse of time itself, whispering, rise again, even when it hurts, rise again, even when you cannot see the sun, rise again, not because the world asks you to, but because your heart remembers what it means to breathe, to feel, to be. I remember standing at the edge of dreams that crumbled in my hands like dust, dreams I once built with certainty and fire and belief. Watched them collapse, and I thought I had failed. I thought I had reached the end, but endings are only doors that refuse to open until you knock again, harder this time, wiser this time, gentler too, because you learn that not every door needs force. Some only need faith. There were mornings when I woke up and felt the weight of my own doubt pressing against my chest like a silent stone, a reminder of all the moments I thought I was not enough. And yet in that heaviness, I found something strangely sacred, because even doubt is a teacher. It shows you the edges of your courage. It tells you where fear hides and where you still need to grow. I used to chase happiness like a bird that never lands, running faster, thinking maybe if I just moved quick enough, I could catch it. But happiness is not something you catch. It is something you uncover beneath the layers of expectation, beneath the noise of what others think, beneath the fear of not being seen. It waits in the small things, in the morning light that brushes your face, in the laughter that escapes without reason, in the silence between two heartbeats where everything simply is. And I think about the people who have passed through my life like seasons, each leaving traces of warmth or storm, or both. Some stayed long enough to plant something beautiful, others left before I could even say thank you, but all of them mattered, because every encounter shapes the way the heart learns to love and to let go. And maybe love is not about holding on, maybe it is about recognizing the beauty in the impermanence of things and still choosing to give anyway. The older I get, the more I realize that success is not loud. It does not always look like applause or trophies or recognition. Sometimes it looks like peace, like sleeping through the night without the noise of regret, like forgiving yourself for not knowing better back then, like sitting in the quiet and feeling whole without needing anything more. And I think that is what healing truly means, not forgetting the wounds, but learning to live with their echoes and still finding music in the sound. There was a day when I sat by the ocean and watched the waves crash and retreat, endlessly, and I saw myself in them, the way I rise and fall over and over, never quite the same each time, but always returning, always beginning again. And I thought, maybe that is what it means to be alive, not to reach a final place, but to move continuously between breaking and becoming, between chaos and calm, between who I was and who I am still meant to be. Sometimes I wonder why we are so afraid of silence. Why fill our days with noise, with endless distractions? Perhaps because silence shows us what we have been avoiding. It brings forth the questions we bury, the pain we postponed. But in that stillness there is truth, and if we are brave enough to listen, we might finally hear the soft hum of our own soul reminding us that we are not lost, only unfolding. There are nights when I lie awake and think about time, how it moves like water, how it carries us gently, then swiftly, then gently. Again, we cannot hold it, we cannot command it, but we can learn to float. We can learn to trust that the current knows where it is going, and maybe that is enough. Maybe surrender is not giving up, but giving in to the flow of what is already written for us in the language of stars and tides and dreams. I have met pain like an old friend who visits without warning, sits beside me and says nothing, and I have learned not to fight it, not to ask it why it came, but to listen, because pain too has stories to tell it, speaks of lessons carved deep into the heart of growth, disguised as grief of endings that were really beginnings of strength that could only be found by breaking. And sometimes I think pain is not the enemy, but the sculptor that shapes us into who we are meant to become. I remember moments of laughter, too bright, too brief, moments that felt eternal, and maybe they were because time bends around joy. It stretches to make room for light, the kind of light that reminds you why you keep going even when everything seems impossible. And maybe that is what hope truly is, not absence of despair, but the gentle refusal to let despair win. In this life, we are all wanderers carrion, invisible maps drawn from memories and dreams. We walk through storms, through doubts, through darkness, and yet something in us keeps guiding the way, a compass made of faith and longing, pointing not to a place, but to a feeling, a sense of home that cannot be found outside because it lives within. And when you finally discover it, you realize you are never really lost. Sometimes I imagine speaking to my younger self, telling them that it is okay to fall, that it is okay to be uncertain, that the world will not end if you take longer to bloom. I would tell them to be kind to themselves, to rest when they are tired, to love without fear, even when love breaks them, because broken hearts still beat, and that is enough proof that life goes on. And to the future me I whisper, keep going, even when you do not understand. Keep believing, even when nothing makes sense, because faith is not knowing it will work out. It is moving anyway. It is choosing light. Even when surrounded by shadow, it is the quiet courage to take one more step, and one more, and one more, until the dawn finds you again. I have walked through loneliness, and it taught me the value of connection. I have walked through failure, and it taught me humility. I have walked through success, and it taught me gratitude. I have walked through silence, and it taught me peace. And I realize now that everything in life is both a teacher and a mirror, reflecting back the parts of us that still need love. There are days when I look at the sky and wonder how many stories are written in those clouds, how many prayers carried by the wind, how many dreams hidden in the spaces between stars. And I feel small yet infinite, because to be human is to hold both fragility and eternity in the same breath. And maybe that is what makes us beautiful, the paradox of being temporary and limitless all at once. I have learned that forgiveness is not about forgetting what hurt you, it is about freeing yourself from the weight of carrying it. Forgiveness is the quiet revolution of the heart, the moment you choose peace over bitterness, the moment you say, will not let this define me anymore. And when you do that, you make space for something new to bloom, for joy to return, quietly like spring after a long winter. Sometimes I walk with no destination, and yet I find meaning in every step, because the journey itself is the destination. Every breath a reminder that I am still here, still learning, still becoming, and maybe that is all that matters. Not the speed, not the certainty, not the applause, just the gentle unfolding of a soul, learning how to love the world and itself again and again. And I think about how often we compare ourselves to others, as if their light dims ours, but it does not. Every flame burns differently, and that is the beauty of it. The world needs all kinds of fire, the soft and the fierce, the quiet and the wild, the steady and the fleeting. And maybe instead of competing, we should learn to illuminate together. There is something holy about starting over, about waking up and deciding to try again, even after 1,000 disappointments, because that decision is a form of love, a love directed inward, a promise whispered softly. I am not done yet, and maybe that is all we need to say to ourselves sometimes. I am not done yet. And so I keep walking through the changing seasons of my heart, through the storms and the calm, through the darkness and the dawn, learning that life is not about finding perfection, but embracing imperfection. It is not about always being strong, but about allowing yourself to be soft. It is not about having all the answers, but about living the questions with grace. If I have learned anything, it is that everything passes, the pain, the joy, the fear, the doubt, everything moves and changes, and what remains is the essence of who you are, the quiet witness behind every experience, the soul that watches and grows and learns to love even when love feels impossible. And I think that is the miracle of being alive, to still love after everything. So if you are listening to this, whatever you are going through, I hope you know you are not alone. Your story matters, your scars are not signs of failure, they are proof of survival. Your dreams are not foolish, they are reminders of what makes you human, and your heart, no matter how tired, still beats for a reason. You are still becoming, you are still unfolding, you are still allowed to start again as many times as you need, and maybe, just maybe, that is what life is really about. Not reaching the end, but learning to rise every time you fall, to find beauty in the cracks, to walk through fire and still believe in light. And if that is all you ever do, it will be enough.